Went pretty long and late on this one. And it's not for anything that the prompts really did to challenge me. It was just, for some reason today, the method that I have been using to do the white outline on the shadow friend, it just didn't want to work today. So I had to learn how to do the same outline, but in cycles render. And that was a trip down memory lane because I remember I'd done this method once before, and I remembered that I had to do something with the materials, but I just couldn't for the life of me remember. So, let me show you what I did. So let's get into the prompts themselves before we jump into the actual thing. On Inktober side of things, we are on the 15th. Guidebook. I don't know what Halloween stuff we could pull out of a guidebook. Maybe like learning how to do spells, conjuration sort of stuff, seance. Creeptober adds through the window. How much is that little doggy in the window? It doesn't really add too much with it. So this is what I decided to run with. So the scene sort of started off kind of complicated, and not in the sense of like, I have no ideas. Absolutely. I had too many ideas. There was the seance idea where one's using a guidebook to kind of help the other one cast a spell to summon stuff. Then I had this other idea where one was using a guidebook to instruct the other one on how to fly out through the window. But I couldn't stop myself imagining that one from being an animation. So he would go out there, Wile E. Coyote, hang there for a minute, and then just like drop out of sight in the windowsill. And so in order to stop myself from just doing a full-on animation, just spending an entire day on that, because I did have other things that I had to do today. I just went with another scene, and luckily I had the flash of an imagery of the scene from The Shining, and I was like, that's the theme that we're gonna go with. So here we have our troublemakers. They find themselves in a horror scene, and one is using a guidebook, maybe just the book, to help the other get out of this scenario, hopefully in the protagonist position where they are alive. So here's me making the book, but let me start on it because it goes by really quickly. The problem that I had with this scene. So the outline for this one just didn't want to work, and for the longest time I couldn't figure out how to. I put the grease pencil in, I set all the scenes, and I directed it toward the main body .001, which is the copy, and it just wasn't working. So I eventually went into the render settings, saw that it was on cycles and not Eevee, switched it, still didn't work, and I don't understand why. And so the solution to that was to just go into cycles and use the secondary method that I once upon a time remembered, which was using a solidify modifier, and then in the solidify modifier you can sort of select multiple materials within that. And so that's sort of how I did that. Oh, and you flip the normals of the solidify modifier. It's really complicated, but and the end result isn't as clean as the Eevee method, but it allows me to do the outline method in cycles render, which normally doesn't like that effect. And so we go into phase 3, which is just basically cleaning up the scene and adding the details that sort of give it context. So we have one cowering behind the couch with a knife, we have another one with the guidebook in hand, and we have the axe that is the reason for it all. And here is the final result. I cannot wait for tomorrow's grungy pumpkin prompt.